Hello and welcome to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast, episode number 15. We're going to start this podcast on more of a somber note because colleague and friend of ours, John Hunt at Sky Sports Racing, has been through absolute hell this week with losing 3 members of his family. We just wanted to take our time to send our love, thoughts and prayers to John Hunt. Wonderful, wonderful person, fantastic professional. We just wanted to start the show off by sending our love over to the Hunt family. But the show must go on. We are looking at Saratoga this week. My name's Luke Elder, alongside my... I've run out of things to say. I was going to say co-partner, but what does that mean?
Yeah, no. I mean, co-pilot would have been good if you want.
But then that suggests that I'm a pilot.
Well, you kind of are in this situation.
I did want to be a pilot when I was younger. Fun fact.
These podcasts start on such weird notes, don't they? I'd have had 66 to 1 on you mentioning pilots.
Anyway. You should have gone way bigger than that. Honestly, planes are like my jam. I love planes.
Oh no, yeah, I do know that.
I've got an app on my phone, right? Jasmine, my partner, hates it, but it's you can track planes, but it's also got a. I think they call it an AR thing where you can just point your phone at the sky if you see a plane, and it tells you what plane it is, where it's going, and where it's come from.
I suddenly got more interested there. That is
right?
A little bit cool.
All I'm saying is this is not interesting to anyone who isn't a dad. If someone out there doesn't have children, they're going, "What is this guy about?" But the dad's out there going, "That's good stuff. I'm going to look that up right now."
Absolutely. I'm sure quite a few people would have skipped through this 20-second segment, but I definitely enjoyed it, to be honest.
If they did, they've missed out. They really have missed out because it was gold. I wish we could skip through last week, but it didn't really go to plan in the Belmont Derby. Just a reminder, by the way, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, why? It's really, really good stuff you get. Pilot talk, there might be some dessert chat at some point. Horse racing, we work in and around it, but it's an opinion-based podcast on absolutely anything. But if you subscribe, you'll be updated on anything that we do. We've also got NFL podcasts as well that are out. If you're not an NFL fan, broaden your horizons a little bit. Go give it a go ahead of the season, which is not too far away, but we are also horse racing every week as well. Leave a comment as well who you might well think will win the Grade 1 Diana Stakes. That's the race we're previewing today, but we'll quickly look back on last week. Tom, the Belmont Derby, it was a slowly run contest. The front runners dominated, and it was a mess.
Yeah, it didn't go as we anticipated, and I have to apologise to all the viewers because I said this time next week we'll be coming back and celebrating one of us having the winner, and unfortunately that's not the case. However, as you say, the race just didn't develop at all, did it? The 2 horses that bounced out into the lead, the 2 that we expected and we mentioned in the podcast, just never came back to the field. Trickery ended up winning. It was a good ride from Johnny V. White Palomino produced a better display and was super game up the inside, but it's very much a plodder. Our selections, I thought yours ran okay, Legend of Time. He kind of made a move into the home straight. It wasn't the easiest of rides, but he just didn't have that finishing burst. And Endlessly, my selection, I couldn't tell you. He didn't run for the first half of the race. He seemed to make a move coming into the home turn as he latched onto the back of the field. And then nothing. Bemusing.
It was. It was just an odd race. Legend of Time got stuck on the inside rail, but that wasn't the difference between winning and losing. He might have finished a little bit closer. And the Belmont Oaks as well did go the way of Charlie Appleby. The course record was lowered by Cinderella's Dream, and she looked fantastic. She's aiming towards the Saratoga Oaks now, along with, to be fair, Legend of Time, who's going towards the Saratoga Derby. But Cinderella's Dream, she looks tailor-made for America.
She was so impressive. Her turn of foot was ridiculous. That was another race that was run pretty slowly in the early stages, and she was the only horse to come from out of the pack. I definitely undersold her ability on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday when I was previewing the race. I didn't think she really had shown enough so far to prove that she was capable of beating the likes of She Feels Pretty, but she just exploded in the straight, and she was very, very strong at the line. I think she'll take all the beating in the Saratoga Oaks. She Feels Pretty, I heard from Sherry DeVoe that she's going to drop back and trip with her. Don't give up on her just yet. I think when she can use her turn of foot a little bit more and it's not reliant on stamina, she'll get back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, for sure. She ran well. I was disappointed she couldn't get past Segesta, but Segesta's just trying to punish me for betting her at Tampa. I'm the only person, right, who's got a horse beaten in a Tampa Bay maiden, who has then gone on to win a graded contest that was at Keeneland, ran well in New York twice. I don't dislike horses, but Segesta's getting pretty high on that list.
Yeah, you haven't had much luck with her, that's for sure. Hopefully, we eventually see the horse that did beat her at Tampa,
Mhm.
Alamora, because she looked very good and Suggestions obviously already boosted the form somewhat. So Chad could have a nice one there, but I don't know if she's even still in training. She hasn't worked out since that race at Tampa.
Yeah, not a clue. But hopefully she does return at some point. But Segesta's doing okay. We will move on to the Grade 1 Diana Stakes because Saratoga is set back. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon. Saratoga's literally back today. But it's a very, very competitive race. There are tons of chances in here. We'll start in the place that we always do. And last week is a reason why you start at the pace, especially in US races, because the pace dominated things and nothing managed to get involved. This time around, there's no fully signed on out and out front runners, but there are plenty of horses that like to race forward. I think we could have a decent pace to aim at here.
Yeah, we have a really deep field for a change in the Diana. Normally we get 4, 5, 6 runners in this race, but we've got a bigger field. The majority are trained by Chad Brown and the majority are closers. But as you say, in a race like this where there's a lot of runners on the turf track, they're going to go some kind of good fraction early. Now, I don't anticipate they're going to go super quick. They won't go 47 and change, for example, but they could go 48 and that will string them out a touch. Maybe White Beam makes the front here under Flavian Pratt. Wouldn't be surprised if Ebby Jets also went forward from gate 9. Those two ran in the Just a Game and had those two prominent positions. So we could be seeing a very similar pace setup to the Just a Game in the Diana on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, there are tons of classy horses in here. We'll start with the White Beam, Chili Flag, Gina Romantica, Coppice form lines. Which of the four would you rather pick out to sort of analyse first?
Well, I think let's talk about them all in one go. Because I think we just talked about the pace there, and Every Jets and White Beam were the two that made the front in the Just a Game. They're the two likely to lead here. Every Jets had no excuses in the Just a Game, and neither did White Beam. Yet, White Beam could easily be seen as a better horse coming into Saratoga. White Beam was in the perfect spot in that race in the Just a Game, right on the shoulder of the leader, had the first chance to quicken for home, and just didn't explode like we normally see her do. That led to the closers coming into the race, and Chili Flag was the one that picked up the mantle really and took advantage in the latter stages. It was a big step up in form for Chili Flag. White Beam was a little bit disappointing, but there isn't much separating those. Then you've got Mission of Joy, who tried to race very similarly to Chili Flag coming from the back, and she was only beating half a length of the line. She's going to be a big price on Saturday. And then Gina Romantica, who didn't fire at all, but now she returns to Saratoga. Is she going to be a different horse? This is the perfect trial for the Diana because we've got 6 horses in here who ran in that race who now come back, all of which have a chance. Maybe Every Jet's a small chance and the rest have a major chance, but it's certainly an interesting form line, that's for sure.
I think you're being very kind to Evie Jets there.
I am.
I don't think Evie Jets is one that I'd be having on my radar. One horse that should be on everybody's radar though is Didier, who just lit the place up last time around. Look, Didier is an improving sort. It was by far a career best effort last time around in the New York Stakes. For the first time ever, posted a triple figure speed figure. It was a speed figure of 100, so just about managed to notch it, but it was very impressive. I do think the race went perfectly for Didier, but this was a huge step forward.
Yeah, and this mare's just phenomenal in general. I mean, she's won 11 of her 17 career outings. She's super prolific. She has the heart of a lion and the talent of a Group 1 or Grade 1 caliber performer. So she kind of has everything in a horse that you want to back at any kind of price. And she never goes off super short, does she? She's always a fair price. She's 3-1, between 3-1 and 5-1 in most of her races. And that's probably, well, according to the morning line, going to be the case for Saturday. I think she might be a little bit shorter, maybe 5-2 or 9-4, but she's going to be well fancied on the back of that victory. She's 2 from 2 at Saratoga, so she's proven at the track. She seems to be improving despite her age obviously increasing now. I think she's a 5-year-old. So I don't know if we've seen the best of Didier. My one concern, and I know many people will like Didier for this race, and I'm not going to completely put them off, but all of her form has come on ground that is described as firm, which I don't think it will be on Saturday. There's a lot of rain forecast for Thursday. There's rain forecast for Friday as well. Saturday appears dry at this stage, but I think, well, we don't know just yet, but on Thursday, I think they're going to be off the turf, and I think there's going to be a little bit of give underfoot. Now, if it's not firm, then maybe Didier will underperform slightly. But if it is firm, she's a huge player.
2 things. Firstly, Didier, I think, is 1 from 1 at Saratoga. I've missed one of those runs, if not.
I think she won. Obviously, she won the New York Stakes last month, and then the Rodeo Drive, I believe.
Possibly, yeah, fair enough. And weather forecast side of things. The weather forecast I've looked at and I've just put up suggests that there's no rain now forecast, and it's meant to be quite nice weather
For the whole week.
for the whole week. There's no rain literally going into next week as well.
So, well, that's a good. I didn't know that, so that's very good. I know that they had between 1.5 and 2 inches overnight on Wednesday, so that should mean they're off the turf today. Don't know for sure. If Friday's cleared up, then the likelihood is Saturday may be a firm track, and therefore Didier has to come into your shortlist, and you have to really count her in as one of the major players.
Is the Rodeo Drive not Santa Anita?
It might be. I could have had a howler there.
It's definitely Santa Anita.
Move on.
It begins with Sa. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
Let's talk about Moira, who has never come here. Moira is a horse who, look, she's very, very talented. She ran brilliantly at the Breeders' Cup last time around, but therein lies a problem. She's coming from Canada. She last ran back in November. To go into this race straight up, that is, well, nigh on impossible. But as I say, she has got the ability to figure.
Yeah, she does. Actually, I was looking at Timeform US's speed figures, and she comes out on top. So that's probably why she's relatively short in the morning line prices. First time up off the layoff, only a third trip away from Canada and Woodbine in general. I think you're going to have to see a huge career best from her to win. It just looks unlikely. She's also drawn inside, so the likelihood is she's going to be shuffled back because she is a stalker / closer rather than a forward going type. And when you're drawn inside, they congregate across in these turf races super quick, and Moira's going to have to be very sharply away to get a good position. And if she isn't, which I think she might not be considering it's her first start of the year, then she's going to be right towards the back of the pack, and Tyler Gaffione is going to have to find a trip for her. She's not for me, but she's an interesting contender, that's for sure.
100%, a very interesting contender. I'd say she's probably got the best form in the race. And I think she could be one of the horses who's artificially short in our markets. I think she could be shorter over here than in the US, sort of building up towards the race. They generally seem to level out just before they jump. But the fact that she was third, I should say, to Inspiral and behind Warm Heart, I feel like sort of the casual European players, they might see that and go, wow, that's amazing form. Let's get stuck into that. Potentially, she could be a horse who is too short to start things off before a couple of few hours before the race.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. As you say, the Inspiral Warm Heart form line gives punters over here a little bit of a thought process where you go, oh, if you're close to those two, then you must be a very good horse. She is, but also that probably wasn't the best Breeders' Cup race. She was also very well positioned. And now the factors of her coming off the layoff with a poor draw over at Saratoga for the first time, I don't think she should be anything like the 5-1 morning line over in our books. And she's probably going to open at around 5-1, maybe 9-2. So I'd be leaving her from a value perspective. I wouldn't be surprised if she went off around 9s.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking 8s. So same ballpark. But she'll be in each way price, I feel, anyway, Moira. When me and Tom didn't talk about our picks whatsoever before we came onto the podcast, just before we discussed desserts, which we'll try and get to. And we also discussed who the picks actually were. My first comment to you, Tom, was we're not going to agree on this race.
Yeah. I mean, it's correct. We aren't agreeing.
Yeah. My play in this is Nisi Marie, who I think she's a really, really attractive each way price. Now, last time around, I thought, ran very admirably in that Grade 1 New York Stakes. Things did not go right for her at all. She was back in the early part of the contest. She made a really, really eye-catching move down the back straight. Now, Didier obviously was in that contest. She had the march and she had first run. But Nisi Marie came with about 3 efforts, and each time she ran into the backside of whoever was in front of her. She did it down the back straight, she did it just leaving the back straight, and then she did it turning for home. A horse that can quicken 3 times in a race like that, I think, is one that you really severely need to upgrade. And it was also a race where you were aided by racing close to the pace, not quite on it, i.e. exactly where Didier was. Now, Didier was a very good winner on the day, but Didier is going to be relatively short, you would think, in this sort of spot. You'd be looking 7-2-ish. We're not talking hideously short, but short enough. Nisi Marie, I wouldn't be shocked if you got 16-1 on the day, something like that. I think she's a really, really live each way play. The longer the race went on, the better she got. There will be a strong pace to this. Just if you haven't seen it as well, She won the Beaugay, a Grade 3 2 starts ago. Go back and watch that race because it is the most ridiculous race you will ever see. White Beam and Spirit and Glory, they were knocking lumps out of each other for a fair way, but they were also clear and they looked like they were taking a bit of catching. And then suddenly, from out of shot, Nisi Marie comes and claims them on the line. As I say, the stronger they go earlier on, the better she's going to be. I think Nisi Marie is a value each way play in this race. I'm interested though to get Tom's thoughts because he's either going to be okay or very anti this.
I'm going to give you a mixture. I'm going to say okay because she's a big price and fair enough for putting up a horse at a big price, especially considering the field size. If you can get third or even second with her, you're going to be rewarded by this amount of profit. My negatives, I've got three of them. One, in the Beaugay, I think she was very much flattered because White Beam, as you say, was knocking chunks out of Spirit and Glory, and White Beam was the best horse in the race. Therefore, if White Beam runs more efficiently here, I'd anticipate White Beam will definitely beat Nisi Marie. Secondly, Luis Saez, I consider to be super aggressive, and this is a horse that comes from basically last. Don't love the jockey switch from Rosario to Saez. Obviously, he's a very capable rider, but I prefer a jockey like Rosario or a Flavian Prel, someone like that for Nisi Marie rather than Louis in this spot. And three, did you know, and this is kind of by the by about this Saturday, but anyway, did you know that this filly began her career in a dirt maiden claimer at Parks?
I did. I did. And up until last year, she was, I was going to say useless, but that's very harsh. She wasn't
Yeah,
useless. She was
below standard.
underwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was running in graded contests, but I think she's a horse that's just getting better and better. She's a 4-year-old now. Her latest 2 runs have been standout by an absolute mile. There's a lot of size to her as well. She's a big, big filly. There's a chance that we're just seeing the best of Nisi Marie this year. I like that she's progressed from first to second start for this term as well. So look, I like Nisi Marie. I think at a price she's a play. You're staying a little closer to the head of the market, but to be fair, there are plenty of horses there.
Yeah, I did find this very difficult to assess. It's one of the hardest races we've talked about so far, along with the Kentucky Derby. Um, I'm wary of Gina Romantica. I feel like she's ready to run big. Now, there is a chance that she's just not the filly or mare that she was, but her form at Saratoga in the past has been super strong, and I'm just concerned that she might suddenly explode and produce one of her best runs. And if so, she'd be a big price. So watch out for Gina Romantica. However, I've got to be with Chili Flag. I just thought she's the best horse in the race. Last time up, when she managed to beat White Beam and every other horse in just a game that then runs on Saturday, I thought she was very impressive. She exploded around the outside. She produced a wicked late boost, a turn of foot, which is what you want in a race like this, especially if they don't go super hard. You need a horse with acceleration. She's got it. I don't mind the outside post because that kind of forces Ared Ortiz's hand. He has to spring wide and try circle the field, which I prefer instead of going inside. I love that Irad is sticking on the horse. Obviously, Chad's got loads of runners in here, so he could have moved if he wanted to, but he's sticking with Chili Flag, which is a positive. And if the rain does come, and it doesn't need to come for Chili Flag by any means, she handles quick ground. But if it does come, she's already got proven form over in France on slightly testing conditions. So, in my opinion, there are the least amount of concerns with Chili Flag out of every horse in the race. But again, I'm not super confident. We could easily be seeing a big shock with Nisi Marie or another Evie Jets or something like that win this race. We could see White Beam back up her victory in the race last year. We could see Gina Romantica take a big step forward. Even Coppice, where you could see suddenly return to her form. It's a wide open race, a good betting race, but I will stick with Chili Flag.
Yeah, I get it. There's nothing really negative to say about Chili Flag. Has been in fantastic form so far this year and could easily win the race. Should get a nice toe into the contest as well. Obviously, Evie Jets drawn on the inside will go forward, so you've got an angle to go across probably with Nisi Marie, and they'll race in similar parts of the contest. But Nisi Marie for myself, Chili Flag tentatively for Tom. Rank your top 3 desserts.
This is what everyone's waiting for.
Yeah,
They've stayed.
we need to do a separate food podcast, honestly, but we'll incorporate it here.
You're absolutely desperate for this segment. Let me ask one question. I like a bit of context when you ask questions like this, as
Right.
I'm sure viewers already know. Are you talking subcategories, e.g., flavors of particular desserts, or are we just talking one dessert?
Just on the whole, just on the
Uh,
whole. If
okay,
you want to, you can elaborate and edit in like chocolate or fruit, or but just on the whole.
Number one is cheesecake for me, and it's not even close. If you come at me in the comments, anyone, and saying cheesecake's not the top tier dessert, then
You'll get no complaints from me. It's
yeah, we're not friends. Well, we are, but
well,
if someone comes in the comments, we're not friends. Cheesecake definitely number one. 2 and 3 are interesting for me because I'm not a huge dessert man, cheesecake aside. So I'm not sure. I do love a warm chocolate fudge cake with a bit of ice cream, vanilla ice cream, nothing else.
yeah.
And then 3, I don't really know, to be honest. Maybe a lemon meringue, but that's a terrible shout.
Oh, that's a rubbish shout.
It's got to be a good one. It's got to be a good one. There's a lot of room for error with a lemon meringue.
Correct answers. Top tier cheesecake.
Yep.
Have you ever been to the Cheesecake Factory in America?
Of course.
That place will mess you up. The amount of calories in that place is ridiculous, but it's so good. If anyone American's listening right now, we sound so basic, by the way. It's like, oh, do you know this big chain? Banoffee pie 2, and then Editor Joe threw in a suggestion as well of sticky toffee pudding, but it has to be with vanilla ice cream.
No, I'm custard man. This is the perfect thing. Some people don't like leaving comments of who they like in races. They like just our opinions.
Yep.
We need your comments for top tier desserts.
Get rid of racing.
It's got nothing to do with the podcast, but it's just something we're interested in. So please tell us your number one dessert, and also tell me if you like custard or ice cream with sticky toffee pudding. It's got to be custard.
I'm a big custard fan, but I like a big custard fan, but it's just too much hot on a sticky toffee pudding. Too much hot. But they're the correct top 3 anyway. I'll tell you what, one more on the card over at Saratoga, race 2, which I'm not going to call the Poker Stakes because that's exactly what I called it to Tom before. That was the race prior. The Kelso. I think Charlie Appleby, or Charles Appleby, as the American race cards use it. I like that. I think Mysterious Knight is a very interesting American contender. He was meant to be their juvenile turf horse last year, and things went wrong. He went to Woodbine. I think he got hurt afterwards and obviously couldn't go. But I think he could be a horse coming into his own. I worry about Carl Spackler. He's the only danger in the contest for me. He ran very flat last time around, but I'll put Mysterious Knight forward as well. And another thing, what is with the morning line in that race? Like, have an opinion or don't. Like, just give someone else a job. The morning line, there's 5 in here. We'll leave out Repo Rocks, his main track only. 8-5, 2-1, 2-1, 5-1, and 15-1. It's just like, what's the point? Why put up something that's so unrealistic it's never going to happen?
Yeah, I think we'll not see that. Carl Spackler will be favourite, in my opinion. Over there, I don't know about over here. Maybe Mysterious Knight will be favourite. But yeah, Talk of the Nation's not a 2-1 shot in the race. So he should be 3 or 7-2. And the other 2 will be vying for favouritism.
Yeah, 100% agree. But yeah, Mysterious Knight will put him forward as well. That is us done, though, for episode 15 of the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. If you did enjoy this podcast, do subscribe. You'll get, as I say, updated on everything that we are doing. And we'll be back next week with horse racing podcast and I think an NFL podcast as well. We've got a few things in the pipeline regarding that. But, Tom, good job.
Yeah, you too. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll actually be celebrating a winner this time next week. I've got to keep saying it until it happens. We had a phenomenal start to this podcast, by the way, with winners, but the last couple of weeks has been a bit hit or miss. Hopefully this week, more hit, and then we'll be talking about another Saratoga race next week. Not quite sure what race it is. I know the Whitney's only 2 or 3 weeks away, but couldn't tell you what the feature is next Saturday at this stage.
Yeah, not a clue, pass, but that will be coming up anyway. And we're still not forgiven Jose Ortiz for 2 weeks ago. But thank you very much for listening to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Like I say, we'll be back probably twice next week, but make sure you follow our socials as well. On Twitter, we are at Turf Touchdowns, and everywhere else, we are at Turf and Touchdowns. Until we next get the chance to speak to you guys, stay safe, look after one another. Goodbye.